Let's discuss about the basic structure of a JCL. First, each and every line of a JCL starts with these slashes, two slashes. In some cases, you don't have to write. Those are some exceptional cases. I will let you know later on, but not now. Now you can understand that these first two positions of each line of a JCL will always be slashes. Okay. Now after that, we write some job name. Job name. So we know that in JCL we have few keywords, few statements. Okay, job, exec, DD, proc, pen, JCL leave, set. This kind of keywords we have to use. Now, job, exec, and DD, these three are mandatory. Without these three, it is not possible to write a JCL. So you have to write job, exec, and DD minimum in every JCL. So for each statement, there will be a name. For job, there's a job name. For exact, there is an exact name. Actually, we call it step name. For DD, there will be DD names. Okay. Now, this job name can be maximum 8 characters. Ideally, this job name and this JCL name should be same. I'm talking about which region. So there are basically three regions, for example, development, UAT, and production. Now, if you have created a JCL, suppose this JCL you have created for UAT environment or production environment. You have created this JCL for UAT or production environment. Then this job name and this JCL name we all generally keep same. So here I have kept the job name as IFBR14, but in real time you will not have this kind of names. Here I have kept the job name based on the functionality. In this JCL, I am going to execute IFBR14 utility, so I have written IFBR14. But in real time, you will have a specific naming convention. Okay, for each JCL, there will be some naming convention. So generally, this JCL name and this job name will be same in production and UAT. So whenever we create any JCL for UAT or we create a JCL for production, this name should we generally keep same. But if you use a JCL for testing purpose in development environment, then generally you can use your mainframe ID also here. If your mainframe ID is ABC123, you can write ABC123, and so it is 6 characters, right? So you can add some alphabets or numbers to make it 8 characters. Okay, you can make it 8 characters, and you can use your JCL name also here, no problem. So what will happen is whichever name you use here, with the same name, the logs will be generated in Sporo. That is the difference. Similarly, in UAT and production environment, if you are running some ad hoc job, those not the scheduled jobs, the daily jobs, the ad hoc jobs. For example, you have created one job to copy data from one file to another file or something like that. There also you can use your mainframe ID. Now after that, space, then you have to write this job keyword, then again space, then you have to write the positional parameters. So two parameters are there in job statement. One is called positional, one is called keyword. So positional parameter has two things: account information and programmer name. Account information. So here I have written 1, 2, 3 within the bracket. So accounting information means, see, every JCL, when you run a JCL, it ultimately executes some COBOL program or any utility. Whenever any JCL executes any program in the mainframe server, it uses some CPU resource and CPU time it takes. While doing that, it will generate some bills because mainframe is not a free source. Okay. Whenever any job executes, it generates some bill, and that bill is stored in this accounting information. Okay. Now these bills and all will be used at the time of auditing. So in every project, every quarter or half yearly auditing goes on. So in auditing, they will find out which application is generating how much bill in development environment, in UAT environment, in production environment by these accounting informations. Next, there is programmer name. Programmer name is basically we write who's the owner of the JCL. For whom are you writing this JCL? If it is for a client, you can write the short form of the client, or if you can write your application name also in short form. I have written sorting. So if you write some your name also, it will not give any error. But the thing is in auditing, no, these kind of details will come. So you have to give a meaningful name here. So basically you give your application name. So these first two lines generally we don't change. Whenever you write a JCL, you can just copy paste from existing JCL. So positional parameters are mandatory. You have to write job name and job, then the positional parameters in the same sequence, accounting information and programmer ID. Next, we'll start your keyword parameters. In keyword parameters, you have class, you have message class, message level, notify, priority, you have region, you have time, you have type run, you have condition, you have restart. Many parameters are there. So let's start with class, and these are not mandatory, and there is no sequence also. You can write in any sequence. Class parameter. Class parameter has a range A to Z. Its range is A to Z or 0 to 9. You can use any value. Now, what value you should use here? What value you should use here? Okay, that thing will decide when this JCL should get executed. I'm telling you a small scenario to make you understand this. For example, in your project, it is defined as class equal to A. So for the jobs which take longer times, okay, high CPU usage jobs, for them class equal to A they're using in your application. Jobs which take lesser time, for them class equal to B. Jobs which take medium time, for them class is equal to C. So three queues are generated. So if you are submitting three different jobs with different class parameters, all of them will be executed at the same time because there are three queues: class equal to A, class equal to B, class equal to C. If you are submitting three jobs with different class parameters at the same time, all of them will get executed immediately. For example, if you and your two friends go to ATM, you go to HDFC ATM, your friend goes to ICICI ATM, another friend goes to SBI ATM, you will withdraw the money immediately if the ATMs are empty, obviously, because all three are in different queues. But if you all of you go into the same ATM together, then you cannot withdraw money together. You have to do one by one, correct? Similarly, when you submit the three JCLs with same class parameter, then all the three jobs will come in the same queue. And it will be a deadlock situation for the system to execute which job it has to execute. All of them have same class parameter. The system will not know which one to execute first. Then this priority parameter will come. So priority is another parameter which will decide which job to execute first. It has a range 0 to 15. Now the higher the value is, higher the priority. So if your job has priority 15, it will be executed first. If other job has less priority, it will be executed next. But if you are submitting all the three jobs with same class parameter and same priority, then it will be again a deadlocked situation. The system will not understand which one to execute first. So all the three jobs will be cancelled. Then you have to submit the jobs one by one. Now, this situation is very rare. In development environment, it is not possible, I would say, because it is not possible to submit three jobs at the same time. With you and two of your friends, if you're submitting also, there may be a fraction of seconds difference. It is not easy to submit. This might happen in some environments where the jobs are already scheduled. Okay. And next comes your message class parameter. So message class also has a value A to Z 0 to 9, just like your class parameter. Yeah. Now message class defines where the logs of this JCL should get created. What is a log? When you submit this job, logs will get created and logs will have the execution status of the JCL, whether it is successful or unsuccessful. If it is successful, the logs will get generated. If it is unsuccessful, what is the reason it will get created in the output? Now, mainframe has a device. It has a tool called spool. So again, this value you should always use whichever is getting used in your project. Now it is predefined in the system that message plus is equal to A means Whenever I submit this job, the logs will be generated in spool. Here in my system, I'm telling. But in production and UAT environments, sometimes you will see apart from spool, they have some external devices also where the logs are generated. And in that case, you will see message class is different than the message class for spool. So if you are running any ad hoc job in UAT, for that message class will be different. And for that, logs will be generated in spool. For any scheduled job, the batch jobs, for them, the logs will be generated in some external device and where the message class will also be different. So these values will direct the messages where to be generated. So generally you will see UAT and production will have external devices apart from having spool, which is by default present in every environment. Now message class has two values. It will tell you what kind of messages should be generated in the log and when those messages should be created in the log. So generally we use 1 1, and if you don't use message level in your job card, by default 1 1 value will be taken. Now first one means all types of messages will be generated in the spool or in the logs, meaning whatever you have written inside the JCL, all these statement related messages will be generated if you use 1 here. And second one means irrespective of whether the JCL is successful or unsuccessful, messages will be generated in log. If you use 0 here in the second one, the logs will be generated when the JCL is successful. When the JCL fails, there will be no logs. So when the JCL fails and there is no log, then how will you find out the error? It will be difficult. That is why we should always use 1 1. Notify. Notify is another parameter which will send a notification on the screen of the user about the execution of the JCL. I have written ampersand CCYD. CCYD means system unique identifier. It is a symbolic parameter kind of a thing. So ampersand CCYD, if I write, when this JCL is executed from my system, this will be replaced with my mainframe ID. So it will be notify equal to my mainframe ID. It means I'm telling the system to notify myself. That is why on my screen in that color, the messages will come that the JCL has been submitted and this is the status of the JCL. And if you want to inform some other user or notify some other user about the JCL execution, you can write his mainframe ID here. Notify to that person's mainframe ID. We have some other parameters. Time will tell you how much time this JCL should take. Region will tell you how much workspace this should take. We'll get that later on. Because these same parameters we have in exec also. Then there is one thing called type run, which will tell about the syntax errors. And finally, we have a restart parameter. All these things we'll get later on. How to restart a JCL from some specific step. Then in line number 3, we have 1 star at third position. So it means a commented line. So every JCL and every COBOL program will have some description. Description will have the what is going on inside this JCL. The brief about that will be present in the description. For example, this JCL is 500 lines long. And generally, in every JCL, one specific kind of project details are handled. For example, if it is a JCL, in this JCL, you will not have steps of different requirements. If there was a requirement, based on that only, you created one JCL and all the steps are related to each other. Generally, it happens like that. So in 1 or 2 lines, you will write what is actually going on inside this JCL because it is very difficult to read all the 500 lines and to understand what is going on. And in some steps, you are executing some COBOL programs also, for example. And what is going on inside the COBOL program? In brief, you will write here. But these are commented lines. These are descriptions. So these descriptions are not supposed to be executed. You cannot execute them. That is why you have to write them in commented lines. That is why you have to write star. Star in third position means commented line. While executing this JCL, these lines will be ignored. Then comes your exec statement. Exec means execute. So just like job name, you have exec name, which is called step name. It is also maximum 8 characters, but I have written 6. Less also you can use. In step 1, you are telling the system to execute the PGM. Which one? This one. So exec parameter also has positional parameter, which is PGM. meaning which program you want to execute. So you are asking the system in step 01 to execute the program IEFBR14. So IEFBR14 is the name of the program which you want to execute. Okay. It also has some keyword parameters, as I said, time, region, condition. All three are common between job and exec. We have separate topics. We'll discuss them later. And also we have a parameter called par that we'll discuss during forward. These two lines, sysprint dd sysout, sysout dd sysout, you can ignore for now. These are used to generate some specific kind of logs in the spool. And these lines are not mandatory for IFBR 14. Neither of them is mandatory. Sysprint dd sysout is mandatory for IFBR 14. Sysout dd sysout is mandatory for sort. But for IFBR 14, these are not mandatory. It is little difficult to remember which utility wants which dd sysout statement. That is why I have mentioned both of them. In every JCL, I have mentioned them. Now comes your DD parameter. So DD parameter always deals with the file. Okay. Now here also one DD name will come. I have written DD1. So as we know that IFBR 14 is a utility which will create PS or PDS file. So first we will create a PS file. DSN is the first parameter. These are all keyword parameters of DD. DSN is the parameter which tells you which file, what is the name of the file. DSN means dataset name. What is the file name? So I have written the file name. Now you need to tell the system what to do with the file. You have written the file name, now what to do, whether to create or to delete or to use it as input or to use it as output. How will the system know? You will tell that in the next statement, which is called disposition. So in disposition, you have three values. One is the status of the file. One is called normal disposition. One is abnormal disposition. Status means the file name that you have written. What is the status? If you have written new here, it means it's a new file that you want to create. So whenever you want to create a file, you have to write new. Next is normal disposition. Normal disposition means what should happen to the file if this step runs successfully. You should catalog it. Catalog means kind of registering the file in the system. Okay. So the file that is created here should be registered if the step is successful. Third one is delete. What should happen to the file if the step fails? The file should be deleted if the step fails, because if this step fails and if the file is created, it will not be created with correct format. So it is better to delete it. Next is space. Space parameter will tell you how much space this file should have. Now, if someone asks you, what is your weight? So you'll say suppose 70 kilos. 70 is the value, kilo is the unit. Similarly, space also has some unit and value. Space means how much data you will be able to write in this file. So for space, generally we use two units. We have more actually, but we generally use track and cylinders. If you want to write less number of records in the file, you can use track, and this is primary value, this is secondary value. So if your weight is 70 kilo, this is the value, this is the unit. So there is no direct relationship between how many records you can insert in how many tracks, but you can do trial and error. If you are trying to write more records, but this space is not enough, your JCL will fail. That time you need to increase it. So two values you need to provide, and both of them will be used one after the other. Third parameter is called release, RLSE. Release means the space that you have mentioned here. It is track 50-50, but you are not writing that many records in the file. You are writing only one or two records. So some spaces are unused. So all those unused spaces will be released back to the system once this JCL is completed. This is used for memory saving. Then you have DCB parameter. It's called data control block. Here it tells you about the data format. What kind of data this file should have and what should be the length of the data. Now 80 means in every line you will be able to write 80 characters, and FB means fixed block. In 80 line you will be able to write 80 characters. But if it is a variable block, in case of variable block, out of this 80, the first 4 bytes will always be reserved to store the file catalog information. So we'll be able to write only 76 characters. If it is 100, then you will be able to write 96 characters for a variable block. If it is 200, you will be able to write 196. So for variable block, From the file length, first 4 bytes will always be reserved to store file catalog information, and remaining will be used to write the records. Now, next is unit. Unit is kind of the address of this file. Sysda is a symbolic name under which all the storage devices come. Now, every file should have an address, and wherever this file is put, okay, that is every file will have its own address, and that serial number of that storage device which holds any file is called volume serial number. Those storage devices come under this symbolic name called sysda. So whenever you are creating a file, you have to use it so that the file is placed on any device which comes under this. Okay, so these are the things which you need to use, and if you submit this JCL, the file will be created, a PS file. To submit it, you have to write SUB. If you press enter on top of your screen, you get a red color message. MATSE0, it is the job name. This is the job ID. This is the unique job ID name which is created because you can execute 100 jobs with the same job name. But how will you know which one is which job? You can identify by this job ID. It will always be unique. After entering one more line, you will get MATSE08, MAXCC00. Now, MAXCC means maximum condition code. It is the status of a JCL. If it is 0 or 4, it means JCL is successful. If it is greater than 4, it is unsuccessful. Maximum condition code that you can use is 4095. Okay. Press enter. MAXCC 0 means this file was created. If you now go and check, so file is created. That is why it has come here. Check the information. So FB 80 800 50 50. So space 50 50. FB 80 is the length. And also it is empty since we have created empty file. Okay, this is how you can create a PS file. And if you want to check this, check the spool, so you have to go start, then SDSF, sorry, start S, then status of jobs ST. Then, so 3 jobs I submitted, 2 jobs I already submitted before. So this is my latest job, the last one. Question mark, then always go to the third one. S, here you will get the status of the job. So you can see MATSE01 is the job name, step 01 is the step name, step was successful. So step was executed, condition code 00 means maximum condition code, max is 00. And below if you see MATSE.Jahangir.PS100 is cataloged. This is created and cataloged. This is how it can be created. Now if you want to create a PDS file, I will give a different name, suppose PDS100. And I have to add one more parameter here. Space has 3 parameters: primary quantity, secondary quantity, directory block. Directory block should always be either space or 0 if you want to create a PS file. If you want to create a PDS file, you have to give a value. The meaning of this is directory block will always give some privilege to the file so that it can have some partitions inside it to hold some members. So generally we have a formula 6 and minus 1. Whatever value you give here, so 6 into 10 minus 1. So 60 minus 1, 59. So most likely you will be able to create 59 members inside it. For example, if it's a JCL library, if you give directory block 10, you will be able to create 59 JCLs inside this. It's a COBOL library, then 59 COBOLs you can create. Okay. Now this always creates a partition. Submitted PDS100 if you check. So if you check the information, organization will be PO. PO means partitioned organization. All the remaining values are same. Now, if you want to open it, you will not be able to open it because it's a PDS file and also it is empty. You cannot open in view mode also. But you can open a PS file in view mode, which is empty. Okay. But PDS file, which is empty, you cannot open in view mode. You have to open in edit mode and you have to add some members inside it. If you add members, then only you can open it and you can write some codes inside. So PS file is where you will have your business data. PDS file is where you will have your codes. Okay, it might be JCL, COBOL, DB2, anything, any component. Now this is for creation. IAPR 14 can be used for creation or deletion of PS and PDS files. Now you have created. Now, if you want to delete a file, see, while creating, you need to provide all these details, space, DCB unit, because it's a new file and you have to tell the system what space it should have, what format, length, where it should be placed. All of these details you need to mention. But if you want to delete the same file, you don't need space, DCB unit. These parameters this file already has. You have to use only deletion and this. These three parameters you can delete. Now, while deleting a file, you can only delete something which is already present in the system. So you have to use a new status which is called old. Old means old has two meaning. One is the file is already existing. Second, it will lock the file exclusively. Since you are trying to delete this file, obviously this file should be already existing in the system, and also you will lock the file so that no other user or no other JCL is using this file at this time when you are trying to delete. Second parameter is what should happen to the file if this step is successful, the file should be deleted. Third parameter is what should happen to the file if the step is successful, deleted. So at any cost you want to delete this file. That is why while deleting you should write old delete delete. And this comma is not needed because these are all continuations. If you now submit it, my access is 0. If you check this file, no dataset names found. It is deleted. And if you want to delete any file, just give the name and write old delete delete, it will be deleted.